Hello, VIPKID teachers. Teacher Lene here. Today we are going to talk about getting that less than 5 apple feedback. You know the feeling, or if you don't, you probably will someday. You open your feedback, you see you've got a new feedback, and you see 4 apples, or worse, 3, 2, or 1. What do? Your heart is sinking and you're like, wait a minute, I'm a good teacher. Why did I get this bad rating? It's a hard thing. I received my first 3 apples last week, and after so many 4 and 5 apples, my first reaction was, wait a minute, I'm a good teacher. This can't happen to me. And I was really sad about it. I was really disappointed. So I know that feeling. But what do you do? What do you do? How do you get past it so that you can teach? In my case, I saw the 3 apple review right after I had finished teaching that same student the next lesson. And I had 3 more lessons to teach that morning. And at first it was really hard to keep my focus because I was like, wow, I've got a 3 apple. This is terrible. And I was having a hard time keeping a good attitude in my next classes because I was thinking about that 3 apple. What did I do wrong? How could that happen? So what do you do when you get a 3 apple review? How do you keep that from hurting your attitude while teaching your other students? There are about 5 things that I did, and it really helped a lot. So here they are. Number 1, check your ego. I told you how I reacted. I'm a good teacher. How can this happen to me? Probably not the right attitude to have. The fact is that we are all human. We all make mistakes, and none of us is beyond a bad review from time to time. The best advice I can give you is check your ego. It's human nature to get defensive and say, well, the review was that the audio was bad, the student wasn't behaving, there were lots of things that went wrong with the class. But think about what it is that possibly you could improve about the situation, because all of us can always improve. Number 2 comes right after that. Watch the replay of the class and learn what you can. In my case, I watched the replay and it wasn't quite as bad as I remembered the class being, but it still wasn't one of my best classes. I did a lot of soft corrections, and I figured that the parents probably wanted to see more hard corrections. The student wasn't quite as engaged as she normally was, and so I was thinking about ways that I could possibly get her more engaged in class. Those are all things that I could improve upon. So when you watch your playback video, be critical of yourself and think, how could I improve? Okay, number 3, appeal the bad feedback. Challenge the bad feedback with VIPKID. You never know what they're going to say. They might agree with you, they might not. When you appeal the feedback, address the concerns that the parent addressed in the feedback. In my case, there were no written comments. They just left the tag lack of corrections. And so when I sent my appeal to VIPKID in, I addressed that. I said, listen, this was the class. I did have a hard time hearing the student, but I corrected on almost every slide for content, for pronunciation, for understanding, and I did a lot of soft corrections because we were having a lot of comprehension problems, and it was one of those really long level 3 lessons, and I knew that if I made her repeat everything, we were not going to finish the lesson. And so I justified my position. I pointed out where I did correct and in what areas I corrected, and I also pointed out problems that we had with the class. The student wasn't comprehending, and there was a bad echo. So I sent that in, and in my case, VIPKID agreed with me and they invalidated the feedback. Even though I didn't feel it was one of my better classes, VIPKID still felt that it was an acceptable class. So you never know, even if you feel bad about your class, VIPKID might take your side over the parents. You never know. Okay, the next thing, number 4, is whether to address the bad feedback in your teacher-to-parent feedback if you teach that child again. Obviously, I saw my bad feedback right after I taught the student, so I had to decide right then whether to address it or not. And I do address bad feedback when I write feedback. that's not necessarily the only way to do it, but I do. And what I wrote to this parent was, I'm sorry I did not meet your expectations in our last class. I will try to do better next time. And I will. With that student, I will probably focus on more hard corrections in the future, and I will certainly be making sure I correct everything because I know their expectations for correction are very high now. So I will adjust my teaching to meet their expectations. I've gotten 4 Apple reviews before with no comments. Those are annoying. And what I've done in response to that is write in feedback, I always want to be a 5 Apple teacher. Please tell me what I can do to be a 5 Apple teacher. And when I did that, the student just stopped leaving feedback. And now he's back and he leaves me 5 Apple feedback every time. So that worked too. I can't guarantee that'll work for everybody every time, but it might. So, you can take a chance. Okay, the 5th thing. This is the hardest. Let it go. Get over it. Just move on. Realize that every teacher makes mistakes. Every teacher is not perfect. So whether your feedback gets invalidated or not, move forward. What can I do moving forward to be a better teacher? Don't look in the rearview mirror. I mean, we all make mistakes. You can't dwell on what already happened. What you can do is try to improve moving forward. And so that's what you need to do. Just address the feedback however you need to. Ask for an invalidation. Address it with the parents if you feel like you want to, but after that, just move forward. Once there's nothing more you can do, there's nothing more you can do. So move forward and do the best you can from here on out. You're an awesome teacher. You know you're an awesome teacher. So yeah, a little blip on the feedback radar, it will pass. It will pass. So move on, be happy, move forward, and that 3 or 2 or 1 or 4 Apple review will be off your front page before you know it. And then before you know it, you will have 105 Apple reviews and it won't even reflect in your average. That's all you can do. So hopefully this helps a little bit. It is very difficult to get a less than perfect feedback. It can hurt your ego a lot. I know it hurt mine. But it happens to all of us and you just have to move on. I hope that helps a little, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!